If you don't sit down and let me work, that wound will kill you before your enemies do. The words came out of my mouth in Japanese before I could stop them. His eyes went wide, shock breaking through that mask of arrogance he wore like armor. Good. Let him be surprised. Let him realize that the foreign nurse he just screamed at, the woman he assumed was too stupid to understand his insults, speaks his language better than most tourists in this city. You know what they say about assumptions, right? How they come back to bite you when you least expect it. How that moment when you think someone can't understand you, can't fight back, can't stand up to your bullying, that's exactly when the universe decides to teach you a lesson. I've learned that lesson more times than I can count. I've learned that underestimating someone because of how they look, where they're from, or what language they speak is the fastest way to end up with your foot in your mouth. Tonight, a man who thought I was beneath him was about to learn that same lesson. My name is Elena Rossi. This is the story of how I went from being a widowed nurse, just trying to survive each day in a foreign country, to the woman who brought Tokyo's most dangerous crime boss to his knees. This is about the night a bullet wound walked through my emergency room doors, and how that single moment changed everything I thought I knew about strength, about survival, and about the kind of man who hides kindness beneath layers of cruelty. But before we get there, I need you to do something for me. If you're settling in for this story, if you want to know how a single mother from Italy ended up tangled with the Japanese underworld, hit that like button. Subscribe because, trust me, you're going to want to follow this journey to the end. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. What's the weather like? Are you curled up somewhere warm? Or are you battling through your commute? Let me know because I promise you, this story is going to stay with you. Now let me take you back to the beginning. I was 26 when Marco died. My husband, my best friend, the father of my daughter, gone in a single explosion halfway across the world. Captain Marco Rossi, decorated soldier, the kind of man who ran into burning buildings while everyone else ran out, who believed in protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. We'd met during my medical training in Rome. He was recovering from a training injury, making jokes even though I could see the pain in his eyes, and I fell in love with someone who understood that real courage isn't about never being afraid. It's about being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. When Mia was born, we thought we had it all figured out. Marco would serve his country, I'd build my nursing career, and we'd raise our daughter to be brave and kind. We'd travel the world together. We'd grow old watching Mia become whoever she wanted to be. Then the call came. The one that starts with "We regret to inform you" and ends with your entire world crumbling into dust. I spent 6 months in a fog after Marco's funeral. 6 months of going through the motions, of tucking Mia into bed and crying in the bathroom so she wouldn't hear, of staring at his uniform hanging in our closet and wondering how I was supposed to do this alone. How I was supposed to be both mother and father, how I was supposed to pay bills and pack lunches, and explain to a 6-year-old why Daddy wasn't coming home. That's when the offer came from St. Mary's Hospital in Tokyo. They needed experienced emergency nurses, they paid well, and they offered relocation assistance. My mother thought I was crazy. "Elena, you don't speak Japanese, you don't know anyone there, you'd be alone with Mia in a country where you can't even read the street signs." But that was exactly why I needed to go. Because staying in Italy meant walking past the cafe where Marco proposed, meant driving by the park where we used to take Mia on Sundays, meant living in a city haunted by memories of everything I'd lost. Tokyo was a clean slate, a chance to rebuild, a place where no one knew me as the widow, where I could just be Elena again. So I packed our lives into suitcases, enrolled Mia in an international school, and moved us halfway across the world. The first year was brutal. Not just learning the job, but learning the language, the culture, the 1,000 tiny rules of Japanese society that no one tells you until you've already broken them. I studied Japanese every night after Mia fell asleep, practicing phrases until my tongue ached, listening to language podcasts during my commute, forcing myself to shop at local markets where no one spoke English, and I had to figure it out or go hungry. Mia adapted faster than I did. Kids always do. Within 6 months, she was chattering away with her classmates, teaching me slang I'd never find in textbooks, correcting my pronunciation with that brutal honesty only 8-year-olds possess. "Mama, you're saying it wrong." It's not arigato. It's arigato gozaimasu when you're being polite. My daughter became my teacher and slowly, painfully, I became fluent. Not perfect, not like a native speaker, but good enough to handle complex medical terminology, good enough to understand conversations people assumed I couldn't follow, good enough to navigate Tokyo without constantly feeling lost. Work became my sanctuary. St. Mary's Hospital wasn't just any hospital. It was where Tokyo's elite came for treatment, where privacy was guaranteed and discretion was expected. Politicians, celebrities, business moguls, anyone who needed medical care without the media attention. And I was good at my job. Better than good. Within 2 years, I'd earned a reputation as the nurse you wanted in an emergency, the one who stayed calm when everyone else panicked, who could start in 4 on a coding patient in under 30 seconds, who never flinched no matter what came through those doors. I'd seen it all. Overdoses. Stab wounds. Car accidents that turned bodies into broken puzzles. I'd held the hands of dying patients and lied that it would be okay. I'd delivered babies in elevators. I'd talked down suicide attempts with nothing but my voice and whatever Japanese phrases I could remember about hope and second chances. Nothing surprised me anymore. Or so I thought. The night Hiroshi Tanaka walked into my emergency room, I was 7 hours into a 12-hour shift. My feet ached, my back was screaming, and I'd already dealt with 2 heart attacks, a kitchen fire victim, and a teenage girl who'd tried to end her life with her mother's sleeping pills. I was running on coffee and muscle memory, the kind of exhaustion where you stop feeling tired and just keep moving because stopping means falling apart. The private wing where I worked was quiet that night. Most of our wealthy patients scheduled their procedures in advance, came in through private entrances, avoided the chaos of the main emergency room. I was restocking supplies, checking expiration dates on medications, doing the mindless tasks that kept my hands busy while my brain tried not to think about the fact that tomorrow was the anniversary of Marco's death, and I still hadn't figured out what to tell Mia when she asked why Daddy's grave was so far away we couldn't even visit it. That's when the doors slammed open. He filled the doorway like a storm, all 6 feet of barely controlled rage wrapped in a designer suit that was soaked with rain and something darker. Blood. His left shoulder was a mess, fabric torn and stained. One hand pressed against the wound while the other clutched his phone like a weapon. Behind him, 2 men in similar suits hovered, their faces pale, their eyes darting around the hallway like they expected an ambush. And then he started yelling. Kono Bakaira, Hayakashiro. The words came rapid fire, harsh and demanding, telling me to hurry up, calling me an idiot, his voice echoing off the sterile walls like thunder. He assumed I was just another foreign nurse, someone who wouldn't understand his insults, who'd scramble to help him simply because he commanded it. His face was twisted in pain, yes, but also in that particular kind of arrogance that comes from a lifetime of people obeying without question. He was handsome. I registered that even through my exhaustion and his fury. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that probably made women weak when they weren't blazing with impatience, the kind of bone structure that belonged on magazine covers. His suit, even torn and bloody, was clearly custom-made, fitting his broad shoulders in a way that screamed money and power. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the bullet wound in his shoulder, the amount of blood he'd already lost, and the fact that he was about to pass out from shock and pain if I didn't get him stabilized in the next few minutes. I grabbed my gloves, snapping them on with practiced efficiency, and met his eyes without flinching. That's when I spoke. In Japanese. Clear and calm and completely unafraid. Suma Mason, Tanaka-san, but if you don't sit down and let me work, that wound will kill you before your enemies do. The change was instant. His eyes went wide, shock breaking through the pain and arrogance. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Behind him, his men exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering across their faces. They hadn't expected this. None of them had. Good. I'd spent 2 years being underestimated in this city. 2 years of people speaking slowly and loudly at me like I was deaf instead of foreign, of conversations happening around me that people assumed I couldn't follow, of being treated like I was less capable because I didn't look Japanese. Tonight, I was done being underestimated. Sit. I repeated, this time in English, gesturing to the examination table.
Now.
He sat. Not because he wanted to, but because his body was failing him, because the blood loss was catching up to his adrenaline, because even Tokyo's most dangerous crime boss, and yes, I knew exactly who Hiroshi Tanaka was, everyone in this hospital knew who he was, couldn't fight biology. I moved fast. Cut away his shirt, assessed the wound, applied pressure while I grabbed supplies with my free hand. The bullet had gone through, which was good, no fragment to dig out, but it had torn through muscle and possibly nicked an artery based on the bleeding. He needed stitches, antibiotics, probably a blood transfusion, and definitely a better attitude. This is going to hurt, I warned him, still in Japanese, as I cleaned the wound with antiseptic. He hissed, his entire body going rigid, his good hand gripping the edge of the table so hard his knuckles went white. And then, in a voice that had lost all its earlier arrogance, cracked and desperate and almost human, he begged. Onagai, yami kudasai. Please. Stop. I didn't stop. I couldn't. The wound needed cleaning or infection would kill him just as surely as the bullet would have. But I worked as gently as I could, my hands steady even as something twisted in my chest. This was the man who'd walked in screaming at me, who'd assumed I was beneath him, who probably terrorized everyone in his life. And now he was begging me for mercy. I know it hurts, I said quietly, switching back to English, giving him the dignity of a language he might not speak as well. But if I don't do this properly, you'll lose the arm. Stay still. He stayed still. He didn't have a choice. I stitched him up with the same precision I'd use on any patient, royal or homeless, criminal or saint. Marco used to say that was my superpower, that ability to see past who someone was and focus only on keeping them alive. You'd patch up the devil himself if he came through your doors, he joked once, kissing my forehead after a particularly brutal shift. Maybe he was right. Maybe the devil had just walked through my doors. I finished the last stitch, applied bandages, started in 4 for fluids and antibiotics. Through it all, Hiroshi Tanaka watched me with those dark eyes, no longer full of arrogance, but something else. Confusion, maybe. Respect, possibly.
Definitely surprise.
When I was done, when his shoulder was properly dressed and his vitals were stabilizing, I finally stepped back and met his gaze. You need to rest for at least an hour before you leave, I told him in Japanese, making sure he understood every word. And you need to keep that wound clean and dry. Come back in 3 days so I can check for infection. If you develop a fever, chest pain, or difficulty breathing, get here immediately. He nodded slowly, still staring at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. You speak Japanese, he finally said, his voice rough.
Ido.
You understood everything I said when I came in. Every word. A ghost of something that might have been embarrassment flickered across his face. I apologize. I was in pain and I assumed. You assumed I was stupid because I don't look Japanese, I finished for him. You're not the first. You won't be the last. He had the grace to look away. I should have left it there. Should have walked away, filed my report, forgotten about the Yakuza boss who'd learned a valuable lesson about assumptions. But something made me pause, made me look at him again, really look. Beneath the designer suit and the arrogance and the reputation that preceded him, beneath all of that, I saw something familiar. Pain, yes, physical pain from the bullet wound. But also something deeper. The same exhaustion I saw in my own mirror every morning. The weight of carrying too much, of being responsible for too many people, of never being allowed to show weakness because weakness meant everything fell apart. I recognized it because I lived it. Every single day. Get some rest, Tanaka-san, I said finally, softer this time. And next time you need medical attention, try asking nicely. You might be surprised how much further kindness gets you than threats. I walked out before he could respond, my hands finally starting to shake now that the adrenaline was fading, my mind already racing ahead to the paperwork I'd need to file, the questions the hospital administrators would ask about treating a known crime boss, the potential complications of having Hiroshi Tanaka know my name. But as I scrubbed my hands at the sink, washing away his blood, I couldn't shake the image of his face when I'd spoken Japanese. The shock. The respect. The way he'd looked at me like I was a person instead of an obstacle. It was just one patient, I told myself. One night. One bullet wound. I had no idea it was the beginning of everything. 3 days later, a delivery arrived at the hospital. I was in the middle of changing in for bag when one of the reception staff poked her head into the room. "Rossi-san, there's something for you at the front desk." "I didn't order anything," I said, checking the drip rate. "It's not medical supplies. You should probably just come see." The way she said it made my stomach clench. In my experience, unexpected deliveries meant bad news. Bills I'd forgotten about. Legal documents about Marco's death benefits. Something from Italy that would rip open wounds I'd barely managed to close. I finished with my patient and headed to the front desk, already bracing myself for whatever fresh disaster waited. What I found was a wooden crate. Not a small one either. It was the size of a moving box, sitting on the counter, tied with a simple rope. No card, no label, just my name written in neat Japanese characters on a slip of paper tucked under the rope. "Who delivered this?" I asked. The receptionist, a woman named Keiko who'd worked at St. Mary's longer than anyone else, gave me a knowing look. 2 men in very expensive suits. They didn't say anything, just left this and walked away very quickly. My hands were already reaching for the rope before my brain caught up. I shouldn't open this. I should call security, report it, follow protocol. For all I knew, it was a threat, a warning, something dangerous from people who didn't appreciate a foreign nurse treating their boss. But curiosity won. It always did. Inside the crate were fruits. Not just any fruits. Perfectly arranged melons, their surfaces flawless, still cold from refrigeration. Strawberries that looked like they'd been selected individually, each one identical in size and color. Grapes that gleamed like jewels. Pears wrapped in delicate paper. The kind of fruit you saw in Tokyo's luxury department stores, the kind that cost more than my weekly grocery budget, the kind you gave as gifts to people you wanted to impress. Tucked between the melons was a small envelope. I opened it with Keiko watching over my shoulder, her eyes wide with curiosity. The note inside was handwritten in English, the characters slightly uneven like someone who didn't write the language often but was making an effort. "Thank you for your skill and discretion. Please share these with your staff. My apologies for my behavior. HT." Keiko made a small sound. "Rossi-san, do you know who sent this?" I did. But I wasn't about to say it out loud in a hospital hallway where anyone could hear. "A grateful patient," I said carefully, closing the envelope. "Help me bring this to the break room. Everyone could use something sweet today." The fruits disappeared within an hour, nurses and doctors alike marveling at the quality, speculating about which wealthy patient had been generous enough to send such an expensive gift. I let them speculate. I ate a strawberry and tried not to think about what it meant that Hiroshi Tanaka knew where I worked, knew my schedule, knew enough about Japanese culture to send exactly the right kind of apology gift. Tried and failed. That night, after my shift ended and I'd picked up Mia from her after-school program, we walked home through streets that glittered with neon and evening traffic. Mia chattered about her day, about the painting she'd made in art class, about her friend Yuki, who'd invited her to a birthday party next weekend. "Can I go, Mama? Please?" "Yuki's so nice, and she said there'll be cake and games, and her mom said I can stay for a sleepover if you say yes." I listened to my daughter's excitement, this beautiful, resilient little girl who'd lost her father and moved to a foreign country and somehow still found reasons to smile every day. She had Marco's eyes, that same warm brown that crinkled at the corners when she laughed. She had his fearlessness too, the way she dove into new experiences without hesitation. "We'll see," I said, the universal parent response that meant yes, but I don't want to commit yet. "We need to meet Yuki's parents first. They're really nice. Yuki says her dad works in business and her mom makes the best curry, and they have a cat named Machi." Business. In Tokyo, that word covered everything from legitimate corporations to organizations that operated in shadows. But I was being paranoid. Not every parent in Tokyo was connected to the underworld. Most of them were just regular people trying to raise their kids, just like me. Our apartment was small, but it was ours. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in, a living room that doubled as my study space when Mia was asleep. The walls were covered with her artwork, bright splashes of color that made the cramped space feel like home. Photos of Marco in his uniform sat on the bookshelf, watching over us, a reminder of everything we'd lost and everything we were fighting to build. I made dinner while Mia did her homework at the kitchen table, her pencil scratching against paper as she practiced her kanji. Later, after she'd brushed her teeth and changed into her pajamas covered with cartoon rabbits, I tucked her into bed and read from her current favorite book, a story about a brave princess who saved her kingdom with intelligence instead of magic. Mama, Mia said sleepily, her small hand finding mine, do you think Papa would be proud of us? Living here, being brave? The question hit like a fist to the chest. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay steady. Your Papa is proud of you every single day, Tesoro. He's watching over us, making sure we're safe. Do you miss him? Every moment of every day. Me too. She yawned, her eyes already drifting closed. But I'm glad we're here. I like Tokyo. I like my school. I like that you're not so sad anymore. I kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, this perfect little human who somehow understood more than any 8-year-old should have to. After she fell asleep, I sat in the living room with a cup of tea, staring at Marco's photo. He smiled back at me, frozen in time, forever young, forever brave, forever gone. I treated a Yakuza boss today, I told the photo quietly. Well, 3 days ago. He sent fruit as an apology. Expensive fruit. The kind that probably cost more than our rent. Marco's photo didn't answer, but I could imagine what he'd say. He'd tell me to be careful, to stay away from dangerous people, to remember that I had Mia to think about. He'd also tell me that I did the right thing, that saving lives was what I was meant to do, regardless of who those lives belonged to. I know, I whispered. I know. 2 weeks passed. I treated other patients, worked other shifts, lived my life in the careful routine I'd built. Wake up, get Mia ready for school, work, pick up Mia, dinner, homework, bedtime, study Japanese medical journals until my eyes burned, sleep, repeat. It was exhausting and boring, and exactly what I needed. Predictable. Safe. Then Hiroshi Tanaka came back. Not as a patient this time. He walked into the hospital's main entrance at the end of my shift, wearing another immaculate suit, his shoulder clearly healed based on how he moved. I was heading out, my bag slung over my shoulder, my mind already on the grocery shopping I needed to do before picking up Mia. Rossi-san. His voice stopped me at the door. I turned slowly, aware of other staff watching, aware that this was crossing some invisible line from professional to personal. Tanaka-san. I'm glad to see you've recovered, thanks to your skill. He spoke in English this time, careful and deliberate. I wanted to thank you properly. The fruit was insufficient. The fruit was more than sufficient. It fed my entire floor for a day. Something that might have been amusement flickered across his face. Still, I'm in your debt. In my world, debts must be repaid. You don't owe me anything. I was doing my job. You did more than your job. You gave me dignity when I deserved none. The honesty in his voice surprised me. This wasn't the arrogant man who'd stormed into my emergency room. This was someone different. Someone who'd thought about what happened, about his behavior, about how he'd treated me. We all deserve dignity, I said quietly, especially when we're in pain. He studied me for a long moment, those dark eyes seeing more than I was comfortable with. You're not like other people. I'm exactly like other people. I just don't have time for games. No games. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. If you ever need anything, medical supplies for the hospital, help navigating the city, anything at all, call this number. I took the card without thinking, my fingers brushing his. The contact was brief but electric, awareness jolting through me that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the fact that I hadn't felt attracted to anyone since Marco died. Hadn't let myself feel anything beyond the basic need to survive each day. The card was simple. Just a phone number, no name, no company. The kind of thing you could throw away, without anyone knowing what it was. I won't need it, I said, but I didn't throw it away. I slipped it into my pocket instead. Maybe not, but it's there if you do. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect I hadn't expected. Take care of yourself, Rossi-san. Tokyo can be dangerous for people who stand up to powerful men. He walked away before I could respond, leaving me standing in the hospital lobby with a business card burning a hole in my pocket and questions I didn't want to answer racing through my mind. I didn't call the number. I didn't throw away the card either. It lived in my wallet, tucked behind my hospital ID, a small rectangle of possibility I pretended didn't exist. Life went back to normal. Or as normal as life got for a widowed single mother working 12-hour shifts in a foreign country. Mia started attending Yuki's house for playdates. I met Yuki's parents, the Nakamuras, a pleasant couple who owned a small restaurant and treated Mia like she was their own daughter. I worked, studied, survived. Then everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. I was finishing my rounds when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Mia's school. My heart immediately kicked into overdrive. Schools only called in the middle of the day for emergencies. Hello. Rossi-san, this is Principal Watanabe. There's been an incident. The world tilted. Is Mia hurt? No, she's fine. But there was a situation with another student. We need you to come to the school immediately. I was moving before she finished the sentence, grabbing my bag, telling my supervisor I had a family emergency, racing out of the hospital. The train ride felt eternal, every second stretching like taffy, my mind conjuring worst-case scenarios.
Mia hurt. Mia sick.
Mia in trouble. When I burst through the school doors 20 minutes later, I found Mia sitting outside the principal's office, her face tear-streaked, her arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage. I dropped to my knees in front of her. Tesoro, what happened? There was a man, Mama. He was taking pictures of us at recess. Yuki said we should tell a teacher, but he grabbed my arm when I tried to run. Her voice shook. He hurt me. Ice flooded my veins. What man? Where is he? Principal Watanabe appeared in the doorway. The police are already here, Rossi-san. The man fled when teachers intervened, but we have security footage. Your daughter was very brave. She kicked him and screamed, which alerted staff. I pulled Mia into my arms, feeling her small body shake against mine. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not in this safe, prestigious international school where I'd sent her specifically because it promised security. The police interviewed Mia gently, showing her photos, trying to identify the man. She couldn't tell them much. He'd spoken Japanese, wore a dark jacket, had a camera. Could have been anyone. But the bandage on her arm told a different story. When I carefully unwrapped it in the school nurse's office, I found bruises in the shape of fingers, the kind of grip that left marks, that meant intent. He was trying to take her, the nurse said quietly, so Mia wouldn't hear. If she hadn't fought back, if the teachers hadn't been close by. She didn't finish.
She didn't need to.
I took Mia home early, called in sick for my evening shift, something I never did. We curled up on the couch together, watching her favorite animated movies, eating ice cream for dinner because normal rules didn't apply to days when someone tried to hurt your child. After she finally fell asleep, exhausted from tears and fear, I sat in the kitchen with my phone in my hand, staring at the police report they'd given me. The officer had been professional but honest. Without a clear identification, without the man actually succeeding in taking Mia, there was little they could do beyond increase patrols around the school. These things happen in big cities, he'd said, his tone apologetic. We'll do everything we can, but realistically, he's probably already fled the area.
Probably.
Maybe. We'll try. Words that meant my daughter's safety was a hope, not a guarantee. I pulled out my wallet, my hands shaking. Behind my hospital ID, Hiroshi Tanaka's business card stared back at me. I'd told myself I'd never use it. Told myself I didn't need help from a man like him, that I could handle my own problems, that involving the Yakuza in my life was a line I'd never cross. But that was before someone put their hands on my daughter. I dialed the number before I could talk myself out of it. He answered on the second ring. Yes. It's Elena Rossi, the nurse from St. Mary's. A pause. Then his voice, sharper now, alert. What's wrong? Not how are you, not why are you calling. Just what's wrong. Like he could hear the fear in my voice, the desperation I was trying to hide. Someone tried to take my daughter today. At her school. The police say there's nothing they can do. Another pause, longer this time. I heard movement in the background, a door closing, his voice dropping lower. Where are you? I gave him my address, something I never should have done. Every safety rule I'd ever learned screaming at me to hang up. But I didn't hang up. I waited, and 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. Hiroshi Tanaka stood in my hallway, somehow looking less dangerous and more human in my cramped apartment building. He'd come alone, no bodyguards, no entourage. Just him, in a simple black shirt and dark pants, his expression serious. Tell me everything, he said. I did. I told him about the man at the school, about Mia's bruises, about the police report that would probably lead nowhere. I showed him the security footage the school had given me on a USB drive, grainy images of a figure in dark clothing, face obscured, lurking near the playground fence. He watched the footage 3 times, his jaw getting tighter with each viewing. This wasn't random, he said finally. What do you mean? Random predators don't target international schools with security cameras. They go for easier victims. This was planned. Someone wanted your daughter specifically. The words hit like a physical blow.
Why? I'm nobody.
I'm just a nurse. Who would want to hurt Mia? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something shift in his expression. Calculation giving way to concern. You treated me. People saw you treat me. In my world, that makes you connected. It makes you a target.
No.
I stood up, anger flooding through the fear. No, I treated a patient. That's my job. That doesn't make me part of your world. It doesn't make my daughter fair game for whatever sick people you deal with. You're right. It shouldn't. His voice was calm, steady, the same tone I used with panicking patients. But it does. And now we need to fix it.
We?
There is no we. I called you because you said you owed me a debt. Consider it paid if you can help find this man. It's not that simple. Then make it simple. I was shaking now, exhaustion and fear catching up to me. Tell me how to keep my daughter safe. Tell me how to make sure no one ever touches her again. Tell me what I need to do. He was quiet for a long moment, his eyes moving around my apartment, taking in Mia's artwork on the walls, Marco's photos on the shelf, the evidence of our small, careful life. You need protection. Real protection. Not police patrols and hope. I can't afford bodyguards. You don't need to afford them. I'll provide them. I don't want to owe you. You don't owe me anything. I owe you, remember? And in my world, we protect what's valuable. The word sent something warm through my chest that I immediately pushed away. This wasn't about attraction or connection. This was about survival. What would protection look like? I asked carefully. 2 men, rotating shifts, watching your apartment and your daughter's school. You wouldn't see them, but they'd be there. Anyone who tries to approach Mia, anyone who even looks at her wrong, they'd handle it. Handle it how? However necessary. The implication was clear. People who threaten children in Hiroshi Tanaka's world didn't just get arrested. They disappeared. I should have been horrified. Should have refused, should have taken my chances with the police, should have moved back to Italy where at least the dangers were familiar. But when I closed my eyes, I saw Mia's tear-streaked face. I saw the bruises on her arm. I saw what could have happened if she hadn't been brave enough to fight back. Okay, I whispered, but I have conditions. Name them. Nothing illegal happens where Mia can see. She doesn't know about any of this. As far as she's concerned, you're just someone who helps Mama sometimes. Agreed. And if I ask you to stop, if I tell you to pull your men away, you do it immediately. No arguments. Agreed. And this doesn't make me part of your organization. I'm still just a nurse. I still live my life my way. He smiled then, a small, genuine expression that transformed his face. You were never going to be anything other than who you are, Elena. That's why you're worth protecting. The use of my first name sent electricity down my spine. When had we crossed from Rossi Sand to Elena? I should check on Mia, I said, suddenly aware of how close we were standing, how warm the apartment felt, how his presence filled the small space in a way that wasn't entirely uncomfortable. I'll have men in place by tomorrow morning. They'll introduce themselves to you, show you how to contact them if you need immediate help. He pulled out a different card, this one with a photo and a name. This is Kenji. He'll be your primary contact. Former police, completely trustworthy. If anything feels wrong, you call him directly. I took the card, studying the face. Kenji looked like someone's grandfather, weathered and kind. Not what I expected from Yakuza security. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me yet. Once you're under my protection, certain people will see that as a statement. They'll wonder why Tokyo's most powerful syndicate boss is protecting a foreign nurse and her daughter. There will be rumors. Let them rumor. As long as Mia is safe. He nodded, respect clear in his eyes. You're a good mother. I'm a terrified mother who's making deals with the devil. The devil would have asked for something in return. He moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Sorry that my world touched yours. Sorry that doing your job put you in danger. It's not your fault some sick person tried to grab my daughter. Isn't it? He looked back at me, something haunted in his expression. In my world, everything is connected. Every action has consequences. I should have thought about that before I came to your hospital. Before I put you on anyone's radar. You were bleeding out. I don't think you were making strategic decisions about protecting your nurse's future. That small smile again.
No.
I wasn't. He opened the door, then stopped.
Elena.
Yes. Your husband. The soldier. He would have done the same thing. Protected those who couldn't protect themselves, regardless of the cost. My throat tightened. You looked into my background. I needed to know who I was protecting. But also, I can see it. In the way you move, the way you make decisions. You learned from someone who understood duty. He left before I could respond, disappearing into the hallway, leaving me standing in my doorway with tears streaming down my face and the horrible realization that maybe, just maybe, I'd made a terrible mistake. Or maybe the only choice that could keep my daughter alive. I checked on Mia, watching her sleep peacefully, her small chest rising and falling, completely unaware that her mother had just invited the Yakuza into their lives. Tomorrow, men would be watching her, following her, ready to hurt anyone who threatened her. And I'd asked for it. Begged for it even. Marco's photo watched me from the bookshelf as I returned to the living room. I picked it up, tracing his face with my finger. I'm trying, I whispered to him. I'm trying to keep her safe. To be strong enough for both of us. But I don't know if I'm making the right choices anymore. The photo didn't answer. It never did. But somewhere in my chest, beneath the fear and the guilt and the exhaustion, something else stirred. Relief, maybe. Or hope. The knowledge that for the first time since Marco died, since I'd moved to this foreign country and tried to build a life from nothing, I wasn't completely alone. Even if my help came from the most dangerous man in Tokyo. Kenji appeared at my door the next morning exactly at 7, just as Mia and I were finishing breakfast. He was everything the photo promised, a weathered man in his 60s with kind eyes and a grandfather's gentle demeanor. He bowed respectfully when I opened the door. Rossi-san, I'm Kenji Matsuda. Tanaka-san sent me to introduce myself and explain the security arrangements. Mia peeked around my leg, curious. Mama, who's this? I kept my voice light, easy. This is Mr. Matsuda. He's going to help make sure you're extra safe walking to school. Like a bodyguard? Her eyes went wide with excitement instead of fear. Only children could find adventure in danger. Like a friend who watches out for you, Kenji said in English, his accent thick but understandable. He crouched down to Mia's level. You like art, yes? I see your drawings. He gestured to the paintings visible through the doorway.
Mia beamed.
I love art. I'm painting a garden right now in school. With birds and flowers. Beautiful. You have your mama's skill with your hands. He stood, addressing me now. My partner Takashi and I will work 12-hour shifts. I take days, he takes nights. You won't see us unless you need us. But we're always close. He showed me his phone, a direct line programmed in. Any concern, any worry, you press this button. We comes immediately. What about at school? Different team watches the school grounds. For men, rotating positions. The principal has been informed of additional private security due to yesterday's incident. She believes you're wealthy enough to afford it privately. I almost laughed at that. Wealthy. Me, who bought discount groceries and counted every yen. Tanaka-san was very thorough, I said carefully. Tanaka-san is always thorough when something matters to him. Kenji's eyes held meaning I wasn't ready to examine. We should leave now. I'll walk with you to school today. Establish the routine. The walk to Mia's school felt surreal. On the surface, everything looked normal. Just a mother, her daughter, and a kind older man who could have been a family friend. But I caught glimpses of another man across the street, matching our pace. And a car that seemed to follow us, keeping distance but never losing sight. This was my life now. Protected.
Watched.
Safe but trapped. At the school gates, Mia hugged me tight. I love you, Mama. I love you more, Tesoro. Have a wonderful day. I watched her run inside, joining her friends, her laughter carrying back to me. Normal.
She was still normal, still happy.
That was what mattered. She's a good child, Kenji said quietly. Strong like her mother. She shouldn't have to be strong. She should just get to be 8.
Yes.
But the world doesn't always give us what should be. He bowed slightly. I'll be nearby. You won't see me, but I'm here. He melted into the crowd before I could respond, and I was left standing at the school gates feeling both relieved and unsettled. Work became my escape. At the hospital, I could focus on patients, on problems I knew how to solve. Bleeding I could stop. Pain I could manage. Lives I could save. It was the rest of my existence that had become complicated. 3 days after Kenji's introduction, I was restocking supplies in the emergency wing when my supervisor called me into her office. Elena, we need to discuss something. Dr. Yamamoto was a stern woman in her 50s who ran the emergency department with military precision. I've received several inquiries about you this week. My stomach dropped. What kind of inquiries? Questions about your schedule, your background, your family situation. One call claimed to be from a medical licensing board, but when I tried to verify, the number was disconnected. Who's asking about me? That's what concerns me. These aren't official inquiries. They feel like someone fishing for information. She leaned forward, her expression serious. Elena, are you in some kind of trouble? Yes, I wanted to say. I'm being protected by the Yakuza because someone tried to kidnap my daughter, and I don't know who or why or how deep this goes. There's an incident at my daughter's school, I said instead, choosing words carefully. Someone tried to approach her inappropriately. I've taken security precautions. I see. Dr. Yamamoto's face softened slightly. I understand. But be aware that St. Mary's has certain standards about staff involvement in complicated situations. We serve a very particular clientele who value discretion. The unspoken message was clear. Don't bring your problems to work. Don't make waves. Don't become a liability. I understand, I said quietly. It won't affect my job performance. See that it doesn't. I left her office feeling the walls closing in. Someone was digging into my life, asking questions, and now my job was potentially at risk. The one stable thing I had, the career I'd worked so hard to build, was suddenly fragile. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Man asking questions at Mia's school. Showed fake press credentials. Kenji detained him for questioning. All secure. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking.
Detained.
That was Yakuza speak for something I probably didn't want details about. I called the number Hiroshi had given me. He answered immediately. What's happening? I asked without preamble. Why is someone investigating me? Come to my office. We need to talk face to face. I'm working. This can't wait. Someone is trying to find leverage against you, Elena. which means they're trying to find leverage against me. I thought you said your protection would keep us safe.
It does.
But protection and privacy are different things.
Please.
Come to my office. I'll explain everything. He gave me an address in Roppongi, one of Tokyo's most expensive districts. The kind of place where rent cost more per month than I made in a year. I told Dr. Yamamoto I had a family emergency and left. The train ride felt endless, my mind racing through possibilities, each worse than the last. Had treating Hiroshi really put such a target on my back? Or was this something else, something connected to Marco's death, to secrets I didn't know existed? The building Hiroshi directed me to was sleek glass and steel, the kind that housed tech companies and financial firms. Nothing about it screamed Yakuza headquarters. The lobby was all marble and modern art, the security guard nodding at me like I was expected. 16th floor, he said in English. Mr. Tanaka is waiting. The elevator ride up felt like ascending into another world. When the doors opened, I stepped into an office that looked like something from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Tokyo, minimalist furniture, everything clean and expensive and completely at odds with every Yakuza movie I'd ever seen. Hiroshi stood by the windows, his back to me, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking rapid Japanese, his tone sharp, commanding. When he heard the elevator, he ended the call and turned. Thank you for coming. You said someone was investigating me. I want to know who and why. The man at Mia's school claimed to be a journalist writing about foreign healthcare workers in Tokyo. But journalists don't use fake credentials or run when security asks questions. What did Kenji do with him? Encouraged him to be honest about who hired him. Hiroshi's expression was carefully neutral. He works for a private investigation firm that specializes in finding information on people connected to my organization. I'm not connected to your organization. I'm a nurse who treated you once and called you when my daughter was in danger. In my world, that's connection enough. He moved closer, his presence filling the space between us. Someone is trying to understand our relationship. They want to know if you're an asset, a weakness, or a threat. I'm none of those things. You're all of those things. His voice softened. You saved my life. You called me when you needed help. You're under my protection. That makes you important, Elena. And important people become targets. I sank into one of the leather chairs, suddenly exhausted. This is insane. I just wanted to keep my daughter safe. I know. And she is safe. But now we need to make sure you stay safe too.
How?
He sat across from me, close enough that I could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. The investigator gave us a name.
Akira Sato.
He runs a rival organization in Yokohama. Smaller than mine, but ambitious. He's been trying to find ways to challenge my territory for months. What does that have to do with me? He thinks you're my weakness. He thinks if he can threaten you, threaten Mia, he can force me to make concessions. The room spun. This is about business? About your stupid territorial disputes? My daughter is caught in the middle of your gang war? Yes. He didn't soften it, didn't try to make it better.
I'm sorry. But yes.
I stood up, needing to move, needing to do something with the rage building in my chest. Get me out of this. Make it clear I'm not connected to you. Tell this Sato person that I mean nothing. I can't. Why not? Because it's too late. The moment I assigned protection to you, the moment my men started following your daughter, I made a public statement. In my world, we don't protect strangers. We protect what belongs to us. I don't belong to you. I know that. You know that. But Sato doesn't know that. And even if I told him, he wouldn't believe me. Hiroshi ran a hand through his hair, frustration breaking through his usual control. The Yakuza operate on reputation and appearance. If I withdrew protection now, it would look like weakness. It would invite attacks not just on you, but on everyone else under my protection. So I'm trapped.
Mia è trapped.
Because you have an image to maintain. Because the alternative is worse. If Sato thinks you're expendable, he won't just investigate.
He'll act.
And I won't let that happen. The conviction in his voice stopped my pacing. I turned to look at him, really look at him. He'd stood up too, his hands clenched at his sides, his jaw tight with tension. This wasn't just about business or reputation. Something else was happening here, something neither of us wanted to acknowledge. What do we do? I asked quietly. We make the connection real enough that Sato backs off, but controlled enough that you and Mia stay safe. What does that mean? It means you'll need to be seen with me publicly. Dinners, events, places where Sato's people will report back that we're involved. Heat flooded my face. You want people to think we're dating. I want people to think you're under my complete protection. What they assume about the nature of that relationship is their business. This is insane. This is survival. He moved closer, his voice dropping. I know what I'm asking. I know it's not fair. But it's the only way to keep you and Mia safe while I deal with Sato permanently. Deal with him how? You don't want details. I deserve details if I'm going to pretend to be your girlfriend. Business negotiations. Making it clear that challenging me costs more than any territory is worth. Cutting off his revenue streams until he's too weak to be a threat.
He paused.
And if he continues to target you after that, I'll handle it differently. The implication hung between us. Violence.
Permanent solution.
The darker side of his world that I'd been trying to pretend didn't exist. How long? I whispered. A few weeks. Maybe a month. Long enough to establish the relationship publicly. Long enough for Sato to realize you're untouchable. And then we can step back. Maintain the appearance of distance. You go back to your life, I go back to mine. It sounded so simple. So clean. But nothing about this was simple or clean. I need to think about it. Of course. But Elena? He caught my hand as I turned to leave, his grip warm and solid. I won't let anyone hurt you or Mia. Whatever you decide, that protection stays in place. No matter what. I pulled my hand away, needing distance, needing to breathe. I'll call you tomorrow. The elevator ride down felt like falling. Back in the lobby, back on the street, back in the real world where single mothers didn't make deals with crime bosses and 8-year-olds didn't need armed guards. But that wasn't my world anymore. Maybe it never had been from the moment I chose to treat Hiroshi Tanaka instead of calling security. From the moment I spoke Japanese and shattered his assumptions. From the moment I dialed his number and asked for help. I'd opened a door I couldn't close. And now I had to decide if I was going to step through it completely or try to live with one foot in each world, knowing that position would eventually tear me apart. My phone buzzed. A photo from Mia's teacher. My daughter in art class, covered in paint, grinning at the camera like she didn't have a care in the world. That decided it. I called Hiroshi before I could change my mind. I'll do it, I said when he answered. But we have rules. Name them. Nothing happens in front of Mia. She still thinks you're just someone who helps Mama sometimes. Agreed. We appear together in public, but my private life stays private. You don't come to my apartment unless it's an emergency. Agreed. And when this is over, when Sato backs off, we end it cleanly. No drama, no complications. A pause. Then, quieter. Agreed. When do we start? There's a charity gala tomorrow night. Hospital board members will be there, along with several of Tokyo's business leaders. Sato will definitely have people watching. Can you get someone to watch Mia? The Nakamuras will take her. They already think I work too much. I'll send a car at 7. Dress is formal. I don't have formal clothes. You will. A package will arrive at your apartment this afternoon. Don't argue, he added before I could protest. If we're doing this, we do it right. Sato needs to believe you're someone I'd move heaven and earth for. One dress. That's it. One dress. I could hear the smile in his voice. For now. He hung up, and I stood on a Tokyo street corner, watching the city flow around me, and wondered when exactly my life had become a performance. When I'd stopped being just Elena, just a nurse, just a mother, and become someone playing a role in someone else's dangerous game. The package arrived at 6. Inside was a dress that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. Deep emerald green silk that would match my eyes, elegant and understated, but clearly expensive. shoes that fit perfectly, a small clutch purse, even jewelry, simple but real, diamonds that caught the light. Mia watched me get ready, with wide eyes. Mama, you look like a princess. Just a work event, Tesoro. With the nice man who sent the fruit? I froze, lipstick halfway to my mouth. How did you know about that? I heard you talking to his picture. She pointed to Marco's photo. You talk to Papa a lot. I do too sometimes. My heart cracked. What do you tell him? That I miss him. That I'm being brave like he taught me. That you're doing a good job taking care of us. She tilted her head, studying me. Do you think Papa would like the nice man?
The question gutted me.
Would Marco approve of Hiroshi Tanaka? Of this dangerous bargain I'd made? Papa would want us to be safe, I said carefully. That's all that matters. The car arrived exactly at 7. Black, expensive, with a driver who bowed respectfully when he opened the door. I kissed Mia goodbye, reminded the Nakamuras of bedtime, and slid into leather seats that probably cost more than my entire apartment's furniture. The gala was held at one of Tokyo's most prestigious hotels, the kind where doormen wore white gloves and the lobby sparkled like a jewelry box. I felt completely out of place, a working-class nurse playing dress-up, until I saw Hiroshi waiting at the entrance. He wore a tuxedo that made him look like he'd stepped off a movie screen. His hair was styled perfectly, his jaw clean-shaven, his eyes finding mine immediately in the crowd. When he saw me, something shifted in his expression. Not just appreciation, but something deeper. Recognition, maybe. Like he was seeing me for the first time.
Anna.
He offered his arm. You look breathtaking. You clean up well yourself. Shall we give them a show? I took his arm, feeling the solid warmth of him through the expensive fabric. Let's make it convincing. We walked into the ballroom together, and I felt dozens of eyes turn our way. Whispers followed us, speculation and surprise and scandal. Hiroshi Tanaka, Tokyo's most powerful crime boss, with a foreign woman on his arm. The nurse from St. Mary's. The widow with the daughter. The story was writing itself around us, and all we had to do was play our parts. The gala was a masterclass in pretending. Hiroshi introduced me to business leaders whose companies I'd seen advertised across Tokyo, to politicians whose faces appeared on news broadcasts, to wealthy socialites who looked at me like I was a fascinating puzzle they couldn't quite solve. Through it all, he kept his hand on the small of my back, a possessive gesture that sent messages I wasn't sure I wanted sent. You're doing well, he murmured during a pause between introductions. Natural. I've had practice pretending everything's fine when it's not. His expression softened. I know that feeling. A waiter passed with champagne. I took a glass, needing something to do with my hands. Across the room, I spotted Dr. Yamamoto from the hospital, her eyebrows raised in surprise.
Great.
By tomorrow morning, the entire staff would know I'd attended a charity gala with Hiroshi Tanaka. There are people watching us, Hiroshi said quietly. 2 men by the bar, one near the exit. They work for Sato. How can you tell? I recognize them. They're not even trying to hide. He guided me toward the dance floor as music started. Dance with me. It'll give them something clear to report. I haven't danced since my wedding. Then let me lead. His hand found mine, his other arm circling my waist, pulling me close enough that I could smell his cologne, feel the warmth of his body through our clothes. The music was slow, romantic, completely at odds with the tension thrumming between us. Relax, he said. You're holding yourself like you're about to be attacked. I feel like I'm on display. You are. But that's the point. His thumb traced small circles on my back. Let them see that you're comfortable with me. That this is real. I forced my shoulders to drop, my body to soften against his. We moved together surprisingly well, his lead confident, my follow instinctive. For a moment, I let myself forget why we were here, what this was. Let myself just feel the music, the movement, the strange comfort of being held by someone who wasn't Marco, but who made me feel safe anyway. Tell me something real, Hiroshi said suddenly. Something that has nothing to do with any of this.
Why?
Because I want to know you. Not the role you're playing, not the nurse or the mother or the woman pretending to date me. You. The request caught me off guard. What do you want to know? What made you choose nursing? I thought back to a lifetime ago, to the girl I'd been before Marco, before Mia, before grief reshaped me. My grandmother. She had cancer when I was 16. I watched nurses care for her in those final months, watched them give her dignity and comfort when there was no cure left. I wanted to be that person for others. Someone who could ease suffering even when they couldn't fix it. Did she survive?
No.
But she died peaceful, surrounded by love. The nurses made that possible. I'm sorry for your loss. It was a long time ago. Grief doesn't follow timelines. The understanding in his voice made me look up at him. You sound like you know. My mother died when I was 12.
Cancer too.
I held her hand when she went.
His jaw tightened.
My father never recovered. He became harder after that, colder. Turned the syndicate into something more ruthless than it needed to be. Is that why you leave money for families? Fund the orphanage. His steps faltered. How did you know about that? Kenji talks. Not much, but enough. He's proud of you, even if he'd never say it directly. Kenji talks too much. But there was affection in his voice.
Yes.
I do those things. My mother always said power meant nothing if you didn't use it to help people who had none. My father disagreed. He said mercy was weakness. What do you think? I think they were both right. Mercy is a weakness in my world. But it's also the only thing that makes us human. He pulled me closer as the music swelled. You make me want to be more human, Elena. Less monster, more man. The honesty in his words stole my breath. This wasn't part of the performance. This was real, raw, dangerous in a completely different way than bullets and investigations. Hiroshi. I know this is pretend. I know you're doing this for Mia. I know when Sato backs off we go back to separate lives. But for tonight, let me pretend it's real. Let me pretend you're here because you want to be, not because you have to be. I should have said no. Should have reminded him of our agreement, of the boundaries we'd set. Should have protected both of us from feelings that would only complicate an already impossible situation. Instead, I rested my head against his shoulder and let the music carry us. Just for tonight. Just this once. The song ended. Reality came crashing back as applause rippled through the ballroom. Hiroshi stepped back, his mask sliding into place, the vulnerable man disappearing behind the crime boss facade. I need to speak with some people, he said, his voice professional again. Stay close. Smile. Let them wonder. The next hour was exhausting. More introductions, more speculation, more playing the role of mysterious woman who'd captured Hiroshi Tanaka's attention. I smiled until my face hurt, made small talk in Japanese that impressed people, and pretended I belonged in this glittering world of wealth and power. Then I saw her. A woman across the room, stunning in a red dress, watching Hiroshi with an expression I recognized because I'd worn it myself once. Love mixed with longing, hope shadowed by fear. She was Japanese, elegant, probably in her early 30s. And the way Hiroshi's entire body tensed when he noticed her told me everything I needed to know. Who is that? I asked quietly. No one important. Liar. Who is she? He exhaled slowly. Yuki Shimizu. We were involved. A few years ago. Involved how? Does it matter? It matters if she's going to cause problems. Before he could respond, Yuki was walking toward us, her smile sharp as a blade. She spoke in rapid Japanese, words flowing too fast for me to catch everything, but I understood enough. Questions about who I was, comments about Hiroshi's taste changing, barbed remarks wrapped in polite language. Hiroshi responded firmly, his tone brooking no argument, but Yuki's attention had already shifted to me. You speak Japanese? She asked, switching languages mid-sentence, testing me. Enough to understand what you just said about me. Her smile widened. Good. Then you'll understand this too.
He's using you.
Whatever he told you, whatever promises he made, it's all performance. Hiroshi Tanaka doesn't do real relationships. He does transactions. And you, foreign nurse with your sad widow story and your child who needs protecting, you're just his latest transaction. The words hit like physical blows, each one finding a fear I'd been trying to ignore. That's enough, Hiroshi said, his voice dangerous. Is it? Does she know about the last woman you protected? The one who ended up dead because your protection wasn't as complete as you promised. Ice flooded my veins. What is she talking about? Ancient history. Hiroshi's jaw was tight. Yuki, leave.
Now.
I'm trying to save her life. Something you failed to do for. Hiroshi grabbed Yuki's arm, his grip firm but controlled, and pulled her away from me. They argued in low voices near the bar, heated words I couldn't hear over the orchestra. I stood frozen, my mind racing. Another woman. Someone he'd protected. Someone who died. Was I walking the same path? Was Mia? Kenji appeared at my elbow, seemingly from nowhere. Rossi-san, perhaps you'd like some air? I nodded numbly, letting him guide me toward a balcony. The night air was cold against my skin, Tokyo's lights spreading below like fallen stars. I gripped the railing, trying to breathe through the panic rising in my chest. The woman he protected, I said. What happened to her? Kenji was quiet for a long moment. You should ask Tanaka-san. I'm asking you. He sighed. Her name was Akiko. She was a witness in a trial against a rival organization. Tanaka-san promised her protection while she testified. But there was a mole in his organization, someone feeding information to the other side. They got to her despite the guards, despite everything. They killed her.
Yes.
3 years ago. It nearly destroyed him. Is that why he left the syndicate? Why he became more ruthless?
No.
That's why he became more careful. Why he trusts fewer people. Why he personally oversees protection details now instead of delegating. Kenji met my eyes. He won't let it happen again, Rossi-san. Whatever Yuki said in there, know this. Hiroshi Tanaka does not make the same mistake twice. But what if this time the mistake is different? What if bringing me into his world is the mistake? Then we'll deal with it. Together. The balcony door opened. Hiroshi stepped out alone, his expression carefully controlled but fury simmering beneath. Kenji, give us a moment. Kenji bowed and disappeared back inside. Hiroshi moved to stand beside me, both of us staring out at the city. I should have told you about Akiko.
Yes.
You should have. I didn't want to scare you more than you already were. And I didn't want you to think I was careless with people I protect. Are you careless?
No.
He turned to face me fully. What happened to Akiko haunts me every day. I've rebuilt my entire security system because of her. Changed how I operate, who I trust, how I handle threats. You and Mia have more protection than I've ever given anyone, including myself. But you can't guarantee our safety. No one can.
No.
I can't. The admission seemed to cost him. But I can promise I'll die before I let anyone hurt you or your daughter. And I don't make promises I can't keep. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this dangerous man with blood on his hands and violence in his history would somehow be different for me, would somehow keep us safe where he'd failed before. But I'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. I need to go home, I said quietly. Check on Mia. Make sure she's okay. Of course. I'll have the car.
No.
I'll take a taxi. Alone. I needed distance, needed space to think without his presence clouding my judgment. Elena, please. Don't let Yuki's poison ruin what we're building here. What are we building, Hiroshi? A fake relationship to scare off your enemies? A performance that ends the moment it's no longer useful. I met his eyes. Or something real that we're both too afraid to name? He didn't answer. Couldn't answer, maybe. Because naming it would make it real, and real things could be destroyed. I walked away, through the ballroom full of beautiful people playing their own games, past the whispers and stares, out into the Tokyo night. The doorman called me a taxi. I gave the driver my address in halting Japanese and watched the gala disappear behind us. My phone buzzed. A text from the Nakamuras. Mia is sleeping peacefully. No rush to come home. Enjoy your evening. But my evening was over. The illusion had shattered. I'd let myself forget, just for a few hours, that this was all pretend. That Hiroshi Tanaka was a dangerous man who lived in a dangerous world, and I was a single mother who'd made a deal with the devil to keep her daughter safe. The taxi pulled up to my building. I paid, climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door to silence and darkness.
And that's when I saw it.
My living room had been searched. Not trashed, nothing overtly destroyed, but things were wrong. Books shifted on shelves. Drawers not quite closed. Marco's photo facing a different direction than where I always kept it. Someone had been in my apartment. Someone had gone through my things while I was at the gala, while Mia was at the Nakamura's, while every eye was on me and Hiroshi dancing together. My phone was in my hand before conscious thought, dialing the emergency number Kenji had programmed. He answered on the first ring. Rossi-san. Someone was in my apartment. They searched it. Don't touch anything. Don't move. I'm 3 minutes away. The line went dead. I stood frozen in my living room, this space that had been my sanctuary, now violated. My eyes scanned for what was missing, what they'd been looking for. And then I saw it. Marco's uniform. It hung in the closet where I kept it preserved, untouched since his death. But now the jacket was askew, the pockets turned inside out. They'd been looking for something in Marco's uniform. But what? Kenji burst through my door 2 minutes later, gun drawn, 2 other men with him. They cleared the apartment room by room while I stood in the living room, shaking. Nothing, one of them reported.
No bugs, no câmeras, no explosivos.
Just a search. What were they looking for? I asked. Kenji's face was grim. That's what we need to find out. And we need to find out fast, because whoever did this knew exactly when you'd be gone, exactly when your apartment would be empty. The gala. Everyone knew I'd be at the gala. Not everyone knew Mia would be at the Nakamura's. Kenji pulled out his phone. Someone has detailed information about your life, your schedule, your daughter's location. This isn't Sato's people doing general reconnaissance. This is targeted. Personal. My phone rang. Hiroshi. Elena, Kenji told me. Are you all right?
No.
Someone went through my dead husband's things, Hiroshi. Someone violated my home. How is that all right? I'm coming over.
No.
You've done enough. Maybe Yuki was right. Maybe your protection isn't as complete as you promised. This isn't a failure of protection. This is something else. Something connected to your husband. The words stopped me cold.
What? Marco Rossi.
Decorated soldier. Died in a peacekeeping mission overseas. That's what you told me. That's what happened. Are you sure? His voice was careful, gentle even. Elena, when my people did background checks on you, there were inconsistencies. Nothing major, nothing that raised immediate red flags. But questions. About the circumstances of his death. About the mission he was on. About why a decorated captain was in that particular region at that particular time. What are you saying? I'm saying someone searching your home for something in Marco's uniform suggests there's more to his death than you were told. And I need you to trust me enough to let me find out what. I sank onto my couch, the room spinning. Marco's death. The mission that took him from us. The vague explanations from his superiors, the sealed records, the medals they gave me that felt more like hush money than honors. I'd accepted it all because grief made everything blur. Because I'd had a 6-year-old daughter to care for and no energy left to question official stories. But what if the official story was a lie? Come over, I whispered into the phone. I'll tell you everything I know, which isn't much. But it's yours if it helps us figure out who broke into my home and why. I'm already in the car. And Elena? Pack a bag for you, and Mia. You're not staying in that apartment tonight. Where am I supposed to go? Somewhere safer. Somewhere I can actually protect you properly. My home. Absolutely not. It's not negotiable. Not anymore. This stopped being about public appearances and started being about survival the moment someone violated your home. His voice softened. Please. Let me keep you safe. Both of you. It's all I want to do. I looked around my violated apartment, at Marco's photo still facing the wrong direction, at the home that no longer felt like sanctuary. Okay, I whispered. But only until we figure this out. That's all I'm asking. He arrived 20 minutes later, his professional mask firmly in place, but I saw the concern in his eyes when he looked at me. He directed his men efficiently, having them photograph everything, dust for prints, check for any evidence of who'd been here. I packed quickly. Clothes for me and Mia, toiletries, her favorite stuffed rabbit she couldn't sleep without. All the mundane pieces of our life shoved into suitcases while armed men secured my apartment. The Nakamuras? I asked. I'll have someone pick up Mia first thing in the morning. Tonight, let her sleep. She doesn't need to know about this yet. She'll need to know eventually.
Yes.
But not tonight. Tonight, we regroup. Tomorrow, we figure out what your husband was really doing when he died and why someone thinks you have answers. The drive to Hiroshi's home was silent. I stared out the window, watching Tokyo blur past, and tried to reconcile the man I'd married with the possibility that he'd been keeping secrets. Marco, who'd been my best friend, my partner, my safe place in a chaotic world. Had I ever really known him? Or had I been as blind to his secrets as I'd been to the danger lurking in my present? Hiroshi's home wasn't what I expected. Not a mansion. Not ostentatious. Just a modern house in a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by walls and gates but not fortress-like. Inside was warm, lived in, surprisingly normal. Guest room is upstairs, he said, carrying my bags. Private bathroom, everything you need. Kenji will be on the first floor tonight. 2 more men outside. No one gets near you without going through all of us first. Thank you, I said, the words inadequate for everything he was doing, everything this had become. Don't thank me yet. Not until we figure out what mess your husband left behind. He set down my bags, then hesitated. Elena, I meant what I said earlier. About wanting to know you. About this being more than pretend. I know the timing is terrible. I know you're grieving and scared and probably hate me right now. But when this is over, when you and Mia are safe, I'd like a chance. A real one. To see if what I feel when I'm with you is something that could grow into something real. I should have said no. Should have told him we were too different, that our worlds would never mix, that I couldn't risk my heart again after losing Marco. But standing in his home, wearing a dress he'd bought me, trusting him to keep my daughter and me safe while my entire life unraveled, I couldn't lie. Ask me when this is over, I said quietly. When we both know if we survived it. That's all I needed to hear. He left me alone in the guest room. I changed into my own clothes, this expensive dress a costume I was grateful to shed. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my phone showing a photo of Mia sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother's world had just tilted on its axis. Someone had searched my home. Someone was looking for secrets connected to Marco's death. Someone thought I had answers I didn't even know I was supposed to have. And somehow, impossibly, the most dangerous man in Tokyo had become the person I trusted most to keep us safe while we figured out the truth. I fell asleep wondering which would destroy me first, the secrets we were about to uncover, or the feelings I was developing for a man who lived in shadows and called violence protection. Both felt equally dangerous. Both felt inevitable. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee drifting up from downstairs. For one disoriented moment, I forgot where I was, forgot everything that had happened. Then reality crashed back. My apartment had been searched. Marco's secrets were surfacing. I was sleeping in Hiroshi Tanaka's guest room. My phone showed 6 missed calls from Dr. Yamamoto and a text that made my stomach drop. Elena, we need to discuss your employment status. Come to my office immediately. I dressed quickly, my hands shaking. This was it. The consequences of my choices catching up. The hospital was going to fire me, and I'd lose the one stable thing left in my life. Downstairs, Hiroshi sat at his kitchen table with a laptop, already dressed in a crisp shirt despite the early hour. He looked up when I entered. Coffee. I need to get to the hospital. My supervisor wants to see me. Kenji's bringing Mia here in an hour. She'll be safe while you're gone. She's going to have questions. why she can't go to school, why we're staying here. Tell her the truth. That mama's apartment had a problem, and we're fixing it. Kids understand more than we give them credit for. He poured coffee into a mug, handed it to me. And Elena? Whatever happens at the hospital, you'll be okay. You're one of the best nurses in Tokyo. They'd be fools to let you go. But they were going to. I could feel it. The drive to St. Mary's felt like heading to an execution. I walked through familiar hallways that suddenly felt hostile. Nurses and doctors who'd been colleagues, now looking at me with curiosity and judgment. Dr. Yamamoto's office door was closed. I knocked.
Come in.
She sat behind her desk, her expression unreadable. A folder lay open in front of her. Sit down, Elena. I sat, my coffee-less stomach churning. I'll be direct. The hospital board held an emergency meeting this morning. There are concerns about your association with certain individuals. Concerns about the attention you're attracting, the security incidents, the potential risk to our patients and staff. I'm doing my job exactly as I always have. Your job performance isn't in question. Your judgment is. She leaned forward. You attended a charity gala with Hiroshi Tanaka, one of Tokyo's most notorious crime bosses. You've been seen with him publicly multiple times. And now your apartment has been broken into. You have armed guards following you, and there are rumors that you're living under Yakuza protection. Every word was true. I couldn't deny any of it. My daughter was threatened. I took measures to keep her safe. By involving herself with organized crime? Elena, do you understand the position this puts the hospital in? We serve politicians, celebrities, wealthy families who demand discretion. How can we guarantee that discretion when one of our nurses is romantically involved with the Yakuza? It's not romantic. It's protective. The distinction doesn't matter to our patients. Or to our board. She closed the folder. I'm placing you on immediate administrative leave.
Paid for now.
But you need to resolve your personal situation quickly. If these security concerns continue, if your association with Tanaka continues, the board will have no choice but to terminate your employment. The words hit like a physical blow. How long do I have? 2 weeks. That's all I could negotiate. I stood on shaking legs. I understand. Her voice softened slightly. I know you're in an impossible situation. I know you're trying to protect your daughter. But there are other ways. Legal ways. You don't have to sell your soul to the devil to keep your child safe. You don't know what I'm facing. Then tell me. Let me help. But I couldn't. Because explaining meant exposing Marco's secrets, meant admitting I'd made a deal with Hiroshi that went beyond simple protection, meant revealing that maybe, just maybe, I didn't want it to be fake anymore. Thank you for the 2 weeks, I said instead. I'll figure it out. I walked out of her office, through the hospital where I'd built my reputation, past colleagues who wouldn't meet my eyes. In the lobby, I saw Keiko from reception. She caught my arm. Rossi-san, I'm sorry. I heard about the leave. News travels fast. Is it true? About Tanaka? I could lie. Should lie. Instead, I met her eyes. It's complicated. Be careful. Men like him, they don't do complicated. They do ownership. Her words echoed Yuki's warning from the gala. Everyone saw Hiroshi the same way. Dangerous. Possessive. Someone who took what he wanted and destroyed anyone who got in his way. Was I being naive thinking he could be different with me? I took a taxi back to Hiroshi's house, my mind numb. 2 weeks to fix my life. 2 weeks to make impossible choices. 2 weeks before I lost everything I'd worked for. Kenji met me at the door, his expression grave. Mia's in the living room with Tanaka-san. They're drawing. Drawing? She asked for paper and crayons. He found some. They've been working on something for the past hour. I walked into the living room and stopped. Hiroshi sat on the floor, this dangerous crime boss in his expensive clothes, helping my 8-year-old daughter draw what looked like a garden. His strokes were surprisingly skilled, shading flowers while Mia added butterflies. Mia looked up, her face bright. Mr. Tanaka is really good at art. Look at the roses he drew. I looked at Hiroshi. He shrugged, almost embarrassed. My mother taught me, before she got sick. The vulnerability in that admission cracked something in my chest. They're beautiful, I said quietly. Mia jumped up, hugging me tight. Kenji said we're staying here for a few days because our apartment has a water problem. Is that true? I met Hiroshi's eyes over her head. He nodded slightly. Yes, Tesoro. Just for a little while. Is that okay? It's like an adventure. And Mr. Tanaka said I can use his art supplies anytime I want. That's very generous of him. Can I keep drawing? I want to finish the butterflies. Of course. She settled back on the floor, completely comfortable, completely trusting. The innocence of childhood, believing the adults would keep her safe. Hiroshi stood, gestured for me to follow him to the kitchen. Once we were alone, his expression turned serious. How did it go at the hospital? Administrative leave. 2 weeks to resolve my situation, or they'll fire me.
I'm sorry.
Are you? This is what you wanted, isn't it? Me dependent on you, no other options, completely under your protection. The accusation hung between us. He didn't flinch. If that's what you think of me, then I fail to show you who I really am. His voice was quiet, controlled. I never wanted you to lose your job, Elena. I never wanted any of this to touch your life. But we don't get to choose our circumstances. Only how we respond to them. Easy for you to say. You're not the one losing everything. Aren't I? He moved closer, his voice dropping. Every move I make to protect you puts a target on my back. Sato's people are watching, waiting for weakness. My own organization questions why I'm risking so much for a foreign nurse. Rival groups see opportunity in my distraction. I'm losing respect, losing control, losing the fear that keeps my territory safe. All because I can't stop thinking about you and Mia, about keeping you safe, about what it would feel like to have a life that isn't built on violence and fear. The raw honesty stunned me. Hiroshi. I know it's selfish. I know I should let you go, should withdraw protection, should let you build a life that doesn't include me. But I can't, because the thought of something happening to you, of failing you the way I failed Akiko, it terrifies me more than any rival organization ever could. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered in sharp Japanese, his expression darkening with each word. When he hung up, he looked shaken. What is it? That was my contact in the government. He ran Marco's military records like I asked. Elena, your husband wasn't killed in a peacekeeping mission. The room tilted. What? He was working intelligence. Deep cover in an arms trafficking investigation. The explosion that killed him wasn't an accident. It was an execution because someone discovered what he really was. I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Marco, my gentle husband who read bedtime stories and made terrible jokes, had been a spy? There's more. Hiroshi's voice was gentle. Before he died, Marco sent classified documents to a safe location. Evidence of the trafficking ring, names of people involved, financial records, documents that could bring down some very powerful people. What does that have to do with me? The location he chose. He encoded the address in something personal. Something only you would recognize. The people searching your apartment think you have access to those documents. I don't. I don't know anything about this. But they don't know that. Which means they'll keep coming. Keep searching. Keep threatening. He paused. Until they find what they're looking for, or until we give them something else to worry about. Like what? Like finding the documents first. Like figuring out what Marco wanted you to know. Like solving the puzzle he left behind. I sank into a chair, my entire reality reshaping. He never told me. Never gave me any hint that his life was dangerous, that he was doing anything beyond normal military work. He was protecting you. The less you knew, the safer you were. Except it didn't work. Because now someone thinks I have his secrets, and Mia's in danger because of choices Marco made before he died. The anger surprised me. Anger at Marco for lying, for putting us at risk, for not trusting me enough to tell me the truth. Anger at myself for being so blind, so accepting, so willing to believe the convenient story. We'll figure this out, Hiroshi said. My people are going through your apartment thoroughly, looking for anything Marco might have hidden. Any clue, any message, any indication of where those documents are. And if we can't find them, then we make Sato and everyone else believe we did. We bluff our way through until the threat passes. That's insane. That's survival. He crouched in front of me, taking my hands. Elena, I know this is overwhelming. I know you're scared and angry, and everything you thought you knew is falling apart. But we're going to get through this. Together.
Why?
Why do you care so much? I'm just a nurse who treated you once. You're so much more than that. You're brave and brilliant, and you see past the monster to the man underneath. You speak your mind. You stand up for yourself. You fight for your daughter with everything you have. You're exactly the kind of person I thought didn't exist in my world. His words wrapped around my heart, dangerous and intoxicating. I wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this wasn't just protection or obligation, that maybe, impossibly, something real was growing between us. I'm falling for you, I whispered. And I hate that I'm falling for you, because the timing is terrible and you're dangerous, and I should be focused on Mia and my job and Marco's secrets. But when I'm with you, I feel safe. And I haven't felt safe since Marco died. My name on his lips sounded like a prayer. When this is over, when you and Mia are safe, I'm going to court you properly. Take you on real dates, not fake gala appearances. Let you meet the parts of me that aren't about the syndicate or violence. Show you that I can be someone worthy of you. You already are. I kissed him. Or he kissed me. It didn't matter who moved first. What mattered was the connection, the electricity, the rightness of his arms around me and his lips on mine. This wasn't pretend. This was real. Terrifying and complicated and completely real. We broke apart at the sound of footsteps. Mia appeared in the doorway. Mama, I finished the butterflies. Come see. I wiped my eyes, pulled myself together. Show me, Tesoro. I followed her to the living room, leaving Hiroshi in the kitchen. But I felt his gaze on me, felt the shift between us, felt everything changing in ways I couldn't control. That night, after Mia fell asleep in the guest room, I lay awake thinking about Marco, about the man I'd married, and the secrets he'd kept, about the documents he'd hidden, and the puzzle he'd left behind. And somewhere in the exhausted space between wake and sleep, a memory surfaced. Something Marco had said the last time I saw him, right before he deployed. We'd been in our kitchen in Italy, Mia playing in the next room, and he'd pulled me close. If anything happens to me, remember the place we first said I love you. That's where all the important things live. I'd thought it was romantic nonsense. A soldier's superstition before deployment. But what if it had been a message? What if Marco had been trying to tell me where he'd hidden everything? The place we first said I love you. A small cafe in Rome, overlooking the Tiber River. We'd been dating 6 months. I'd been terrified to say it first. He'd beaten me to it by 30 seconds. But we weren't in Rome anymore. How could documents be hidden in a cafe halfway around the world? Unless Marco hadn't hidden them there. Unless he'd recreated it. Encoded it. Put the address in something I'd recognize. I sat up, my heart racing. In our apartment in Tokyo, I had a photo of that cafe. Marco had printed it, framed it, hung it on our bedroom wall. I'd brought it with me when we moved. It was still hanging in my apartment right now. What if the answer was literally behind the picture? I grabbed my phone, called Hiroshi.
Elena?
It's 2 a.m. The photo in my bedroom. The one of the cafe in Rome. Marco might have hidden something behind it. I'll have my people check immediately.
No.
I need to go. I need to be there when we find it. It's not safe. I don't care. Those are Marco's secrets. If there's something there, I deserve to be the one to find it. A pause. Then, give me 10 minutes to arrange security. We'll go together. The drive to my apartment felt surreal. Tokyo at 2 a.m. was a different city, neon lights reflecting off empty streets, the occasional taxi passing like a ghost. Hiroshi had insisted on bringing 4 men, a level of security that made my stomach clench. You really think someone might be watching? I asked. I think we can't afford to assume they're not. My apartment building looked normal. Quiet. Kenji met us in the lobby, his expression grim. No signs of surveillance, but that doesn't mean much. If they're professional, we wouldn't see them. We climbed the stairs to my floor. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it that morning, violated and wrong. I headed straight for my bedroom, Hiroshi close behind. The photo hung exactly where Marco had placed it 2 years ago. A small cafe with outdoor tables, the Tiber glittering in the background, the place where we'd first said the words that would bind our lives together. My hands shook as I lifted the frame off the wall. Behind it, taped to the back of the photo, was a small USB drive. "That's it," I whispered. "That's what everyone's been looking for." Hiroshi pulled out his phone. "Kenji, bring a laptop. We need to see what's on this." 5 minutes later, we sat around my kitchen table. The laptop open, the USB drive inserted. The files were encrypted, but Hiroshi's tech specialist worked through layers of security while I held my breath. Finally, documents appeared. Page after page of financial records, shipping manifests, names I didn't recognize, photos of men in expensive suits shaking hands with military officials. And there, in the middle of it all, a video file. I clicked it. Marco's face filled the screen. He looked exactly as I remembered him. Strong jaw, warm eyes, the little scar above his eyebrow from a training accident. But his expression was serious, urgent. "Elena, if you're watching this, then something went wrong."
I'm sorry.
"I'm so sorry for keeping this from you, for putting you at risk, for not being strong enough to walk away from this mission." My vision blurred with tears. The documents on this drive are evidence of an arms trafficking ring involving military officials, politicians, and organized crime from 3 countries. I've been gathering this information for 2 years. It cost good people their lives. And now it's going to cost mine. He paused, glancing off camera like he heard something. "I've made arrangements. The documents will be delivered to the proper authorities through secure channels once I'm confirmed dead. But I needed to make a copy. Insurance, in case something goes wrong with the official transfer. In case the corruption runs deeper than we thought." He looked directly at the camera, directly at me. "If you're watching this, it means someone figured out I had insurance. It means they're looking for these documents, looking for you. Get somewhere safe. Trust no one in official channels. They're compromised. Find someone powerful enough to protect you, someone outside the system. And Elena, I love you. I always loved you. Tell Mia her father died, doing something that mattered. Tell her I'm proud of her. And forgive me for not being brave enough to tell you the truth." The video ended. Silence filled my kitchen. "Who else knew about this?" Hiroshi asked quietly. "I don't know. Marco worked alone as far as I knew. But obviously someone suspects documents exist. Someone who's been searching for 2 years. And they finally traced it back to you." Hiroshi's jaw tightened. The question is whether they're acting alone or whether there's an organization behind them. Does it matter? It matters for how we handle this. Individual actors we can manage. But if this is government-sponsored, if military intelligence or corrupt politicians are involved, then we're dealing with resources and reach beyond what my organization can handle. The weight of his words pressed down on me. We'd found the documents. We'd solved Marco's puzzle. And now we had to figure out what to do with information that could get us all killed. "What would Marco want?" Hiroshi asked. "If he were here, what would he tell you to do?" I thought about my husband, about the man who'd believed in justice, who'd died gathering evidence against corrupt officials, who'd risked everything to do what was right. He'd want the truth exposed. He'd want these people held accountable. Even if it puts you and Mia in more danger? Yes. The answer came, without hesitation. Because that's what Marco died for. And if we hide these documents, if we let these people continue operating, then his death meant nothing. Hiroshi studied me for a long moment. "You understand what you're saying. If we release this information, everyone involved will come after us. Not just Sato, but people with government backing, with military resources, with the ability to make us disappear." "I know. And you still want to do it." "I have to. For Marco. For every person these criminals hurt. For Mia, so she grows up in a world where her father's sacrifice mattered. Something shifted in Hiroshi's expression. Pride, maybe. Or respect. Then we do it smart. We make copies, send them to multiple news organizations simultaneously. We time the release so the authorities can't suppress it. And we make sure you and Mia are somewhere untouchable when it happens. Somewhere untouchable doesn't exist. It does if I make it exist. His voice was steel. I have resources you can't imagine, Elena. Safe houses in 3 countries, people who owe me favors, transportation networks that don't appear on any official radar. I can get you and Mia somewhere safe while this plays out.
And you?
Where will you be?
Here.
Handling the fallout. Making sure anyone who comes looking finds me instead of you.
No.
The word came out fierce. I'm not running while you face this alone.
Elena. No.
We do this together, or we don't do it at all. You said we were partners.
So, be my partner.
Not my protector, not my guard, my partner. We release these documents, we face the consequences, we fight whoever comes, and we do it together. You're asking me to let you walk into a war zone. I'm asking you to trust me the way I'm trusting you. I'm asking you to let me be brave. Marco died for this. I'm not going to dishonor that by hiding. Hiroshi was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled me against his chest, his arms wrapping around me like he could physically shield me from what was coming. You're the strongest person I've ever met, he whispered into my hair. And the most terrifying. Because caring about you makes me vulnerable in ways I never allowed before. Good. You should be vulnerable. It makes you human. It makes me weak. It makes you worth loving. He pulled back to look at me, his dark eyes intense. When this is over, when we've survived whatever hell is about to rain down on us, I'm going to ask you properly. Ask if you'll let me be part of your life. Part of Mia's life. Not as protection, but as family. Ask me now. Now isn't the time. There might not be a later. Ask me now, Hiroshi. He cupped my face in his hands. Elena Rossi, when this nightmare ends, will you give me a chance to prove I can be the man you deserve? The man Mia deserves? Will you let me love you the way you should be loved? Tears streamed down my face.
Yes.
1,000 times yes. He kissed me then, desperate and tender, pouring everything unsaid into that connection. And for one perfect moment, the danger, the secrets, the impossible situation all faded. There was just us. Just this. We broke apart at the sound of Kenji clearing his throat. Tanaka-san, we need to move. Thermal cameras show 3 vehicles approaching from different directions. Multiple occupants in each. The moment shattered. Reality crashed back. How many? Hiroshi's voice shifted instantly to command mode. At least 12, possibly more.
Who?
Unknown. But they're coordinated. Professional. Hiroshi grabbed the USB drive. We need to leave. Now. We raced down the stairs, Kenji and the other guards surrounding us. Outside, the 3 vehicles Kenji mentioned were converging on my building. We piled into Hiroshi's car, the driver already moving before the doors closed. Behind us, men poured out of the vehicles. Not police. Not military. Private security, the kind that didn't ask questions and didn't leave witnesses.
They were waiting, I said.
They knew we'd come here eventually. Someone's tracking us. Someone inside my organization or yours. Hiroshi pulled out his phone, barking orders in rapid Japanese. We need to go dark. No phones, no credit cards, nothing they can trace.
What about Mia?
She's at your house with your guards. Already moving her to a safe location. She'll meet us there. Where? A place no one knows about. Not my organization, not Sato, not anyone. He looked at me. A place I bought for exactly this scenario. Somewhere I could disappear if everything fell apart. You've been planning for this. I've been planning for everything since Akiko died. I swore I'd never be unprepared again. The drive lasted hours. We switched cars twice, drove in circles to lose tails, finally ended up at a small house on the outskirts of Tokyo. Nothing special, nothing that would draw attention. Just a normal home in a normal neighborhood. Inside, Mia waited with two guards I didn't recognize. She ran to me the moment we walked in.
Mama.
They said we were playing a game, that we had to be very quiet and sneaky. Was I good at being sneaky? I held her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo, this perfect innocent child who'd been dragged into adult nightmares. You were perfect, Tesoro. So brave. Are we still on our adventure? I looked at Hiroshi over her head. He nodded slightly. Yes, baby. For a little while longer. But it's going to be okay. I promise. It was a promise I had no right to make. But I made it anyway. Because sometimes you lie to your children to keep them from being afraid. Sometimes you lie to yourself for the same reason. That night, after Mia finally fell asleep, Hiroshi and I sat in the safe house kitchen planning our next move. The USB drive sat on the table between us, this small piece of plastic that contained enough evidence to destroy powerful people. We release it tomorrow, Hiroshi said. Simultaneous drops to 5 major news organizations, 3 in Japan, 2 international. By the time anyone realizes what we've done, it'll be too late to suppress. And then we wait. We see who comes for us. We fight. We survive. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's the hardest thing we'll ever do. But we'll do it together. He took my hand. I meant what I said earlier. About wanting to be part of your life. About loving you. I know. I need you to know it's real. Not protection, not obligation. Real. I believe you. Good. He pulled me close. Because what's coming is going to test that belief. People will say, I'm using you. They'll say you're a fool for trusting me. They'll try to tear us apart. Let them try. Elena, I'm serious. This won't be easy. Nothing worth having ever is. I met his eyes. Marco taught me that. He died protecting people who'll never know his name, doing what was right even though it cost him everything. I'm not going to dishonor that by choosing the easy path now. You're extraordinary.
I'm terrified.
You can be both. We stayed up most of the night, preparing the document release, writing statements to accompany the evidence, making sure everything was documented and distributed widely enough that no one could silence it. At dawn, Hiroshi pressed send. 5 emails. 5 news organizations. And hundreds of pages of evidence that would bring down an arms trafficking ring spanning 3 countries. The world didn't explode immediately. News took time to verify, to fact-check, to confirm. But by afternoon, the first story broke. By evening, it was international headlines. By midnight, governments were issuing statements, arrests were being made, and our phone lines were being flooded with calls we didn't answer. And somewhere in the chaos, Sato's organization collapsed. Because it turned out Sato had been tangentially involved in the trafficking ring Marco exposed. Not a major player, but connected enough that the evidence implicated him. By morning, his operations were being raided, his assets frozen, his people scattering. The threat that had started all of this disappeared almost overnight. It's over, Hiroshi said, staring at the news coverage. The immediate danger, at least. Sato can't touch you now. And with this much public scrutiny, anyone else involved will be too busy saving themselves to come after you. So we're safe. Safer. There's still fallout coming. Investigations, possible retaliation from people we exposed. But the worst is past. I should have felt relief. Should have celebrated. Instead, I felt hollow. Marco's secrets were exposed. His death was vindicated. But he was still gone. And nothing we'd done brought him back.
Elena.
Hiroshi's voice was gentle. What are you thinking? That Marco would be proud. And that I wish he was here to see it. And that I feel guilty for being grateful this happened, because it brought you into my life. Grief and gratitude can coexist. Can they? Can I love what I'm building with you, while still mourning what I lost? You can. You must. Because Marco is part of your past, but I want to be part of your future. And there's no future without acknowledging everything that came before. He was right. And yet the guilt remained. The feeling that moving forward meant leaving Marco behind. That choosing happiness with Hiroshi somehow betrayed the love I'd shared with my husband. But maybe that was wrong. Maybe the way to honor Marco's memory was to live fully, to embrace the second chance I'd been given, to show Mia that loss didn't mean the end of joy. Take me on a date, I said suddenly. Hiroshi blinked. What? A real date. Not a fake gala appearance. Not a strategy meeting disguised as dinner. An actual date where we pretend to be normal people who just want to spend time together. A slow smile spread across his face. When? Tonight. Mia's safe here with the guards. You and I can have a few hours to just be Elena and Hiroshi. Not nurse and Yakuza boss. Not two people trapped in impossible circumstances. Just us. Where do you want to go?
Surprise me.
3 weeks later, I returned to St. Mary's Hospital. Not as a nurse on administrative leave, but as someone who'd become an international story. The foreign nurse whose husband's secrets had exposed corruption at the highest levels. The woman under Yakuza protection who'd chosen to release evidence despite personal danger. Dr. Yamamoto met me in her office, her expression unreadable.
Elena.
Sit down. I sat, prepared for termination, prepared to hear that my employment was over. Instead, she slid a folder across the desk. The board met yesterday. We discussed your situation extensively. I understand if you need to let me go. We're not letting you go. We're promoting you. I stared at her, certain I'd misheard. What? You've been offered the position of Emergency Department Clinical Coordinator. It comes with a significant salary increase, flexible scheduling to accommodate your family needs, and a seat on the hospital's crisis response team. I don't understand. 3 weeks ago you were threatening to fire me. 3 weeks ago, the board thought you were a liability. Now they recognize you're an asset. Your actions demonstrated integrity, courage, and the kind of ethical decision-making we want in our leadership. She smiled slightly. Also, several board members are facing legal scrutiny because of the documents you released. Having you visibly on our side looks good for the hospital's image. The cynicism shouldn't have surprised me.
But it did anyway.
What if I say no? Then you remain in your current position with full benefits restored and no mark on your record. But, Elena, you deserve this promotion. You earned it. Not because of headlines, but because you're one of the finest nurses we have. Take the position. Show Mia that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, leads to good things. I thought about it. About the money that would mean less stress, more stability. About the flexible schedule that would let me be present for Mia in ways I'd struggled with. About the respect and authority that came with leadership. I'll take it. Thank you. You start in 2 weeks. That should give you time to sort out your personal life. Her expression softened. How is your daughter? Resilient. She thinks she had a grand adventure. She doesn't know how close we came to disaster. Good. Let's keep it that way. I left her office feeling lighter than I had in weeks. One piece of my life was falling back into place. Now I just needed to figure out the rest. My phone rang. Hiroshi. How did it go? I got promoted. Congratulations. I knew you would. You're too valuable to lose.
His voice warmed.
Celebrate with me tonight? Real celebration this time. I want to take you somewhere special. What about Mia? Already arranged. The Nakamuras are taking her for the evening. They're very excited to have her. Something about a new kitten they want her to meet. You've been busy. I've been planning. There's something I need to talk to you about. Something important. My stomach fluttered. Should I be worried?
No.
But dress nice. Very nice. He picked me up at 7, looking devastating in a dark suit that made my mouth go dry. The car took us to one of Tokyo's most exclusive restaurants, the kind where reservations were booked months in advance and the menu didn't list prices. Hiroshi, this is too much. Nothing's too much for you. Dinner was perfect. Multiple courses I couldn't pronounce, wine that probably cost more than my monthly rent had. But the best part was the conversation. Easy, flowing, like we'd known each other for years instead of months. We talked about everything and nothing. Mia's progress in school. My new position at the hospital. His plans to restructure parts of his organization, to move away from some of the darker aspects of Yakuza business. I want to build something legitimate, he said over dessert. Security consulting, private investigation, corporate protection. Use the infrastructure I have for legal purposes. It'll take years, maybe a decade, but I want Mia to be proud to say she knows me. I want to be someone your daughter can respect. Tears pricked my eyes. She already respects you. She draws pictures of you.
Did you know that?
Pictures of the nice man who gave her art supplies. I didn't know. She asked me yesterday if you were going to be her new papa. I watched his face carefully. I told her it was too soon to talk about that. But she wanted me to tell you that she'd like it if you were. Hiroshi's hand tightened on his wine glass. What did you say? That I'd think about it. That we'd talk. That we were still figuring things out. I reached across the table, taking his hand. But if you're asking what I think you're asking, then yes. 1,000 times yes. He stood abruptly, pulling me up with him. Come with me. He led me out to a private garden behind the restaurant, fairy lights strung between trees, the sound of a fountain trickling in the background. The city sparkled below us, Tokyo at night like a field of stars.
Elena Rossi.
He took both my hands. 3 months ago, you walked into my life and changed everything. You saw past the monster everyone fears and found the man underneath. You challenged me, called me out, refused to be intimidated or controlled. You're brave and brilliant and the best mother I've ever seen. And somewhere along the way, I fell completely, irrevocably in love with you. He dropped to one knee. My breath caught. This was happening. This was real. I know it's fast. I know we've been through trauma together, and maybe that's clouding judgment. But I also know that when I imagine my future, you and Mia are in every single moment. I want to wake up next to you, every morning. I want to help Mia with her homework. I want to build something real and good and lasting. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you let me be your husband, Mia's father, your partner in everything? He pulled out a ring. Simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the light like captured moonlight. Yes, I whispered. Yes, Hiroshi. Yes. He slid the ring onto my finger, then stood, pulling me into a kiss that felt like a promise, like a beginning, like everything right in the world condensed into one perfect moment. When we finally broke apart, I was crying and laughing simultaneously. How do we tell Mia? Together. As a family. A family. The word felt foreign and perfect. I liked the sound of that. We stayed in that garden for hours, planning our future, talking about logistics, about moving in together, about how to blend our lives. He wanted to sell his house, start fresh in a place that was ours, not his or mine, but truly shared. He wanted to formally adopt Mia, give her his name if she wanted it, be her father in every way that mattered. What about your organization? I asked. Your men. Will they accept a foreign wife? They'll accept what I tell them to accept. And anyone who has a problem with you will find themselves working elsewhere very quickly. His voice was steel wrapped in silk. You're going to be my wife, Elena. That makes you untouchable. Family. And in my world, family is everything. Even when family is messy and complicated and comes with an 8-year-old daughter who asks too many questions. Especially then. We drove home, my hand in his, the ring on my finger catching light from passing street lamps. Tomorrow, we'd tell Mia. Tomorrow, we'd start planning a wedding. Tomorrow, we'd begin the complicated process of merging our lives. But tonight, we just drove through Tokyo, two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances, who'd survived danger and secrets and impossible choices, who'd chosen love despite every reason not to. The Nakamura's house appeared ahead. Time to pick up Mia, to bring our daughter home, to start our new life. Ready? Hiroshi asked. Ready. We walked to their door hand in hand. Mrs. Nakamura opened it, her eyes immediately going to my ring finger. Her face lit up. Congratulations. Oh, this is wonderful news. Mia appeared behind her, holding a tiny kitten.
Mama, look.
Can we get one? Please? Mr. Tanaka, tell Mama we should get a kitten. Hiroshi crouched down to her level. How about we talk about that at our new house? The one we're all going to live in together. Mia's eyes went wide. All of us? Like a real family? Like a real family. She threw herself at him, nearly dropping the kitten, her small arms wrapping around his neck.
Yes.
Yes. I want that more than anything. Over her head, Hiroshi met my eyes. Everything we'd been through, every danger we'd faced, every impossible choice we'd made, all of it had led to this moment. To Mia laughing in his arms. To a ring on my finger. To a future we'd build together. Thank you, I mouthed. He smiled. Thank you. 6 months later, I stood in front of a mirror in a simple white dress, my hands shaking as I tried to fix my veil. The wedding was small, intimate, just close friends and family in a private garden outside Tokyo. Nothing extravagant, nothing public. Just us, committing our lives to each other. Mama, you look like a princess. Mia twirled in her flower girl dress, scattering petals everywhere. Thank you, Tesoro. You look beautiful, too. Is it time yet? When do I get to walk down the aisle? Soon, baby. Very soon. Mrs. Nakamura appeared in the doorway. Elena, it's time. My stomach fluttered. This was it. The moment everything became official. The moment I stopped being just Elena Rossi and became Elena Tanaka. The ceremony was perfect. Hiroshi waiting at the altar in a traditional Japanese suit, his eyes finding mine the moment I appeared. Mia walking ahead of me, taking her role seriously, carefully placing each step. Kenji standing as best man, his weathered face creased in a rare smile. We said our vows in both English and Japanese, promises to love and protect and honor, to build a life together, to be partners in everything, to give Mia the family she deserved. When Hiroshi kissed me, Mia cheered louder than anyone, and I laughed through happy tears. The reception was exactly what we'd wanted. Good food, better company, Mia dancing with anyone who danced with her. Hiroshi's men treating me with respect that felt earned, not forced. My colleagues from the hospital congratulating us, no longer worried about my connections, but celebrating them. As the sun set and fairy lights twinkled in the trees, Hiroshi pulled me onto the dance floor. Happy, he asked. Happier than I ever thought I'd be again. Good. Because this is just the beginning. The beginning of what? Everything. Our life together. Building something lasting. Maybe even expanding our family eventually if you want that. The thought of more children, of giving Mia siblings, of growing our family, made my heart swell. I'd like that. Not right away, but someday. Someday. He spun me under his arm. I love the sound of someday with you. Later, as we cut the cake and Mia helped by eating most of the frosting, I looked around at our gathered family and friends. At Kenji laughing with my supervisor from the hospital. At Mia teaching Hiroshi's lieutenant a complicated hand-clapping game. At this beautiful, impossible life we'd built from danger and secrets and impossible choices. Marco's photo sat on the memory table, watching over the celebration. I'd spent a long time talking to it earlier, telling him about Hiroshi, about Mia's happiness, about the life we were building. Asking his blessing, even though I knew he couldn't give it. Thanking him for the love we'd shared, for the daughter we'd created, for the example he'd set of doing what was right regardless of cost. You okay? Hiroshi's voice pulled me back to the present. I'm perfect. Just thinking about everything that brought us here. Regrets? Not a single one. The party went late, Mia finally falling asleep on a bench, exhausted from excitement. Hiroshi carried her to the car, this powerful man cradling my daughter like she was made of glass, and my heart overflowed with love for both of them. At our new house, the one we'd bought together specifically to start fresh, he laid Mia in her new bedroom. She stirred slightly, mumbling something about butterflies, then settled back to sleep. She's happy, I whispered.
She's loved.
That's all that matters. In our bedroom, Hiroshi helped me out of my wedding dress, his touches gentle, reverent. We made love slowly, taking our time, celebrating not just the wedding but everything we'd survived to get here. Afterward, lying in his arms, I traced the scar on his shoulder, where I'd first stitched him up. The night that started everything. Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if you hadn't come to St. Mary's that night? I asked. Every day. And every day I'm grateful for the bullet that brought us together. That's a terrible thing to be grateful for. Maybe. But it's true. I fell asleep smiling, wrapped in his warmth, in this new life we'd created, in the promise of tomorrow and all the tomorrows after that. The next morning, I woke to Mia jumping on our bed.
Mama. Papa.
Wake up. There's a package.
Papa.
She'd started calling him that 3 months ago, tentatively at first, then with increasing confidence when he responded with joy every single time. A package. Hiroshi sat up, instantly alert. Old habits died hard. It's from Italy. It has Nani's handwriting. My mother. I'd sent her wedding photos, but we'd had the ceremony without her because she couldn't travel. I'd felt guilty about that, but she'd insisted she was happy for me, that she wanted me to build my new life without waiting. Downstairs, a large box waited on our doorstep. Inside were gifts from my mother, from Marco's parents, from extended family in Italy. Photos of Marco to add to Mia's room, so she'd never forget her father. A letter from my mother welcoming Hiroshi to our family. And at the bottom, a small envelope addressed to me. Inside was a letter in Marco's handwriting, dated the week before he died. My hands shook as I opened it. Elena, my love. If you're reading this, then the worst has happened, and I'm not coming home. I'm so sorry. Sorry for leaving you. Sorry for the secrets. Sorry for the danger I've put you in. But I'm not sorry for loving you. I'm not sorry for the life we built together, for our beautiful daughter, for every moment we shared. You gave me a reason to fight for something bigger than myself. I know you'll be tempted to stay stuck in grief.
Don't.
Live fully. Love again. Give Mia the family she deserves, even if I can't be part of it. Whoever finds their way into your heart, whoever steps up to be Mia's father, thank them for me. Thank them for doing what I couldn't, for keeping you safe, for giving you reasons to smile again. You deserve happiness, Elena. You deserve love that doesn't come with secrets and danger. You deserve a man who can be present, who can watch Mia grow up, who can grow old with you. Find that man. Love him without guilt. And know that wherever I am, I'm cheering you on. All my love, always.
Marco.
I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Hiroshi read it over my shoulder, his arms wrapping around me from behind. He knew, I whispered. Somehow he knew. He knew you. Knew you'd survive. Knew you'd build something beautiful from the ashes. He gave me permission to be happy. You never needed his permission. But I'm glad he gave it anyway. I turned in his arms. This man who'd become my husband, who'd become Mia's father, who'd taken broken pieces and helped me build something whole. Thank you, I said. For everything. For saving us. For loving us. For being exactly what we needed. Thank you for letting me. For seeing past the monster. For giving me a reason to be better. Mia appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas, holding Marco's photo that my mother had sent.
Mama?
Can we put this in my room? Next to the picture Papa, Hiroshi drew of the garden? My 2 worlds, merging. Past and present, grief and joy, loss and love, all coexisting in one perfect moment. Of course, Tesoro. We'll put it right where you can see it every day.
Good.
Because I want to remember my first Papa while I love my new Papa. Is that okay? I looked at Hiroshi. He nodded, his eyes suspiciously bright. That's more than okay, baby. That's exactly right. We carry the people we love in our hearts forever, and that makes room for new people too. She beamed, satisfied, and ran off to arrange a room. Hiroshi pulled me close, ready for the rest of our life. I thought about everything we'd survived. The danger, the secrets, the impossible choices. I thought about Marco's letter, his blessing, his wish for my happiness. I thought about Mia, thriving and loved and safe. I thought about the work I loved, the home we'd built, the future stretching ahead full of possibility. Ready, I said. Let's begin. And we did. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for staying with me through this journey. Elena and Hiroshi's story was about finding love in the darkest places, about second chances, about building families from broken pieces. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel because we've got so many more stories coming. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. Did you see the twist about Marco coming? Were you rooting for Elena and Hiroshi from the beginning? What would you have done in Elena's situation? Share this story with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to love again after loss, that it's possible to find happiness in unexpected places, that sometimes the most dangerous people have the biggest hearts. And remember, life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes the detours lead us exactly where we're meant to be. Sometimes the person who saves you is the last person you'd expect. Sometimes love finds you when you've stopped looking for it. Until next time, take care of yourselves and the people you love. Life's too short for anything else.